Welcome to Grit Meets Growth, the podcast where we explore getting uncomfortable, making things happen, and creating a magnetic life. Now let's get after it.
Rock and roll, man. Episode number 6.
Episode 6, man. How's it going?
Fantastic.
Good. Same.
I still can't believe we're 6 episodes in on this thing.
This is, we say this every time. This has been a fun ride. It's been fun to get the feedback, and it's fun to dive into these topics. One of the things, I just want to dive right in. So one of the things, this is my favorite time of the year. Specifically, favorite time of the year doesn't even really capture it. Favorite time period, with it being the Olympics. I love the Olympics. I love every one of the sports, whether it's gymnastics or swimming or skateboarding. The opportunity we have to see the best in the world put it on the line and compete and win is so much fun, and I just get jacked up by the whole thing. So.
Totally. I think back to being a kid, and I share much of that same sentiment with you, John. I think back to being a kid and how enjoyable it was every day to gather around the television, to watch the Olympics, to see what was going on. Unfortunately, like today's day and age, social media has completely wrecked it. Like there isn't that anticipation. You know the results before they're even shown on TV today.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I think one of the things that I enjoy the most about the TV coverage is when they dig in and they start talking a little bit about the backstory, how hard these athletes work. I think it's so easy to see somebody win in the pool and not really take in what it took to create that win. The being at the pool at 5 o'clock in the morning before the sun's even up to train, the nutrition, the sacrifices that these athletes make, the parties that they skipped, the school activities that they didn't go to because they were so dialed in, so focused on what they wanted, what their goal was. That's really impressive to me. And I think it comes out a little bit when they're standing on the podium and their country's anthem comes up. But I wish we could see the backstory on every one of these athletes and how hard they worked to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And from a very young age, right? Many of those athletes from a young age know and have that as a goal, right? They've set it as a goal. Have there been failures along the way? Absolutely. Have they found a way to get around it? You bet you. Right? That's what makes them elite and why they're on that stage.
Absolutely. And it's interesting too. I remember as a kid, there's something that gets a little bit lost, I think, as we get older, as we become adults. I remember as a kid, you'd put posters on your wall of, say, a basketball player, like a Jordan poster in your bedroom, or a soccer player, or I used to get all of the BMX magazines so I could see all the riders that I wanted to be like, right? And I surrounded myself with images of those athletes that I really wanted to chase. And I had dreams of what that could look like someday. And like when you're a kid, you dream big about what you want to do and where you could go and what you could accomplish. And it's interesting. I think as adults, those dreams get dulled a little bit sometimes. And we don't, all of a sudden we tear the posters down off the walls and we settle into this status quo kind of life sometimes. And I think that's one of the things that sticks out about these Olympic athletes is they took that dream that they had as a kid, those posters on the wall, and then they turned those into something massive. And I think we can all take something from that.
For sure. And the funny thing is, I think it's probably easier today than ever before to surround yourself with that information. And it's no longer just pictures or stories that came out in a magazine, right? It is actual posts from those people. We get to get a glimpse and inside their head a little bit more. So while I agree with you that we have a tendency to push those goals away, I think our goals change a little bit. We can still gather a lot of information from those folks, right? From those athletes. on what it takes to win, but we have to be willing to push all of the negative that's in our lives, in our world out, right? Social media is full of negativity, but if you really look hard, there's a lot of positive message to be had out there. You just have to find the right people. And the right
Absolutely.
people are a lot of those athletes. There are the people that you want to take those lessons from, right? Or they're business owners that have done it, and they've failed along the way, and it's taken them a long time, right? Everybody, just as you said earlier, right? Everybody wants to have that instant gratification. We do live in a bit of an instant gratification world, without realizing that it takes years, possibly decades, to get to that point of success they're at today. We don't always get to see that backstory, like you said.
Well, and you look at these athletes who are competing in the Olympics right now, and I would venture to guess that every single one of them had some level of natural talent when they were born. They were born with a gift that maybe not everybody has. But alongside that is the development of that gift, the work that they put in to take what was really raw when they were young and sculpt it and train it and build it and really create. I mean, they say pressure creates diamonds. To put the pressure on to really create that diamond that you see, like I said, in the swimming pool or on the track, wherever that may be. I go back to, I'm just blown away by the amount of work that these athletes have put in. And when we talk about grit, I think they epitomize grit all day long. They are grit. This is where you get to see it and really experience it next level.
Couldn't agree more.
So how do we take that? How do we take that, what we're seeing in the Olympics right now? How do we take that and convert it into something in our own lives? Like, what does that look like for you, man?
I say this often, and I'll say it again. It comes down to discipline. It's not about motivation. It's really about the discipline to put in the work. You've got to put in the work. Caleb Dressel talks about pennies. I watched an interview today. He's like, it's all of these little things, right? It's the mundane. It's the mundane activities that take place in training, in life, in business that really define success. You have to get comfortable with mundane. It's those pennies that you're putting in the jar every day that add up to the big dollars in the end. Get comfortable with the mundane.
That's interesting to hear that. I hadn't heard that, but it is so true. The things that you repeat, those rituals that you do every single day over and over and over again, are the things that really add up. You think about it from the perspective of the gym. You don't go to the gym once, do one workout on one morning, and then never go back. You go to the gym, and then you go to the gym again, and then you go to the gym again, and it stacks over time, but it's only over time that you see the results. And that's true with anything in life. It's true with building a business. It's true with showing up in a relationship. It's true in the gym. You have to continue, and we've talked about this so much, you have to continue to do the work.
It is. Business is the same way. It's those continue, in sales, right? You have to get your message out there. You have to be communicating with people, whether that's through social media, whether that's through direct emails, whether that's through phone calls. That's mundane stuff. But as business owners, we have to do that or face not having any clients.
You having been in sales and my experience on that side as well, the only way you win is by doing the mundane over and over and over again. And it's not always fun. I think that's one of the other stories that needs to get woven into this conversation. It's not only is it mundane, sometimes it's freaking hard. Sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes it is, you don't want to, and it doesn't matter whether you want to or not. You show up, you keep doing the work, you keep doing the mundane. That's the only way to win at this, at anything.
And as a business owner, that has a team that's relying on you, you don't have a choice. You have to show up you have to do those mundane things in order to continue to have employees and support those employees and grow your organization.
I think the other thing that stands out to me when I think about these Olympic athletes, and this goes back to leading a team as well, you have to believe that you can. That belief, there's not an Olympic athlete that's standing on a podium who didn't believe on some level that they could. They knew they put in the work. They knew they put in the energy. They had dreamed about where they wanted to end up when the Olympics were done. Some of them are shocked when they win. There's obviously those moments where they're like, I'm shocked that I got gold. But they all believed that they belonged there on some level. They all knew that they belonged at the Olympics. They all knew that their dreams were worth chasing, and they thought big. And I think as a business owner, that is something that has hit me hard in probably the last 2 or 3 years, is to start thinking bigger than what I was. I was thinking small. I was thinking little. I was thinking what was comfortable. And sometimes big is uncomfortable, but big's pretty cool. And if we can set our goals on some big things and then believe that they're possible, they're all attainable.
Right. And when you think big, chances are there's going to be points in there where you fall. And what do? We get back up, dust yourself off, and you keep on trucking. Do you have to go down that same path? Not necessarily, right? You might pivot just a little bit, take a different path. There's not one way to success. It's your way. You get to choose that. You fall down, you get back up, you keep on going. You fall down again, you get back up, you keep going. It's the only way that we can achieve those goals and those dreams. And I think those Olympic athletes, as we talked about, there has to be failure upon failure upon failure in their careers in order for them to get to that point. And I don't like to necessarily call it failure, like call it a fall, right? It's that fall, because failure seems so permanent, right? Whereas a fall, it is that you fall, you dust off, you get back up and keep going.
I love using the term fall versus failure. Failure feels permanent. And we talk about failure all the time in society, like, oh, we should celebrate failure. We should fail fast. Failure is an awesome thing. We talk about it, we put it on a pedestal. And then when it happens, we kind of take a different look at it. We don't want to celebrate failure when it happens. It's not exactly all it was cracked up to be when we're experiencing it. But I think you're absolutely right. If you shift from failure to fall, when you fall, you get back up. And the beauty of it is, if you've surrounded yourself by the right people, which we talk about all the time, you have people who are going to help you get back up. You don't just fall on your own. You have people who will help you get back up. They'll lift you up and they'll get back on the path with you, and off you go.
Think about learning to ride a bike. That's a perfect example of falling and getting back up. It's a perfect example of people helping you up, right? When you first start learning to ride a bike, chances are it's your mom or dad or some adult that's behind you holding that seat as you learn to pedal that bike and learn that stability. And when they let go, sometimes you fall, but they're there to help you back up, get back on that bike and try it again, right? And help and encourage you and help you get through that, right? Get through that fall and build that mental capacity.
Well, and then one of the things that happens is I remember this with my own kids. You make the shift from dad or mom are going to help you ride your bike. They're going to hold the back. And all of a sudden, the training wheels are off, nobody's holding the back, and you're riding on your own. That doesn't mean you're done falling. You're still going to fall down, and you're going to have to pick yourself back up, and you're going to have to start pedaling again. And that's where grit comes in, because that moment where you fall down, it would be easy to stay on the ground. I'm not getting back on that bike. I just fell off. That's where grit comes in. That's where you get back on the bike and you start rolling again, you start pedaling again, and you get a little better this time and a little better this time. And the next thing you know, you're riding your bike with no hands. You don't start doing that in the beginning. You got to learn, you got to fight through some battles, you got to get there.
How do you continue to fall without taking a hit to your mental health? Like, let's talk about that for a second, right? Mental health, clearly a big topic in a lot of places over the last year, continues to be on the forefront. How do we get through those falls and build that grit but get beyond that? How do we build our mental fortitude to be able to get through those falls?
I think one of the biggest things for me personally, there's two things actually. The first thing is expect that you're going to fall. Like if you go into life thinking I'm never going to fall down, and then you do fall, now you're shocked by it and you're not prepared for it. If you go into it knowing that falling is a possibility, then you're more ready for it. Like if you think about a rock climber, and not the guys who free solo or the people who free solo, but the climbers who use ropes, right? They use ropes to climb because they know that the fall could happen. It probably will happen. And if they're really stretching themselves and their abilities, the likelihood of that fall is much higher. So they climb with ropes, which gives them that added boost, that added confidence that they can try things that they wouldn't normally try. The other thing I would say personally on my side is talking about the challenges and not always trying to hold it all in and not trying to like maintain on my own. People can tell. Like if you're going through a challenge or you're going through a bad week or you're going through a bad month or a bad year, as much as you want to hide that from the world, you leave clues that say something's going on, something's not quite right this week, this month, this year. And so you're not really hiding it that well from people. There are always people who can see it. And so you're much better off if you can find a few people that you trust and have those conversations and say, you know what, I'm going through this thing right now. I need to talk about it. I need some help getting through it because don't feel like I can do it on my own. Help walk me through this, help walk with me through this. I think those two are both keys. Just
to hear yourself talk sometimes, it's just having somebody listen to what you have to say, right? It's not always that person that you're talking to needs to solve anything. Sometimes they just need to listen.
Absolutely.
When I look at that fall as part of it comes down to not comparing ourselves to others, right? It's really comparing the results to yourself. Am I better than I was the last time I did this? Am I better than I was yesterday? Looking at the swimmers, when they're in the pool, the worst thing they can do is to look at what others are doing and where they are in relation. They just need to go out there and swim their swim. Swim what they've practiced. Do it the way they've done it. Be consistent, right? Those things in the pool help them go beyond that fall and have that grit, right? But that's within themselves, and that's focusing on themselves and not comparing themselves to others, not comparing themselves to the person in the lane next to them or 2 lanes over or 3 lanes over and what they're doing. It's just swimming their swim, right? We need to do that same stuff in our everyday lives. How am I better than I was yesterday? How am I better than I was an hour ago? And sometimes that is reaching out to people and having that dialogue when you feel you're on that verge of falling, or you feel like the world is spinning out of control. And just sometimes it's just saying it out loud gives you some of that affirmation to be like, okay, I got this, right? I can do this, and continue to forge forward, right? If you do fall, find a way, right? You're gonna fall. You're gonna fall once, twice, 3 times, however many times it takes. Just get up and keep going. Find a way. You know, that old saying that my parents told me, where there's a will, there's a way. Find your way.
That saying is way more true. I think it's easy to trip over that saying and kind of, yeah, it's a cute saying. And mom and dad used to say it because I used to hear the same thing. But there's a lot of truth in that saying. Your will, what you've decided you're willing to do, what you've decided you're willing to sacrifice, where you've decided you're willing to put in the hard work, your will is a lot more powerful than any of us imagine. There's a lot more in there. There's a lot more to that. And 90% of anything is making the choice that it's important. And then setting your will to that and saying, okay, I've chosen this is important. Now I'm going to do what it takes to get from point A to point B. So.
Right. And there's many times that our brain tells us to stop, right? Our mind is like, whoa, pulling back on the reins. I'm done. We're done. Your body, you cannot go any farther. Chris, you're done. You can't go any farther. The reality is at that point, you're only about 40% in. You still have another 60% to give. Your body is capable of it. It's our mind that has a tendency to shut down. And that's because of life experiences and because of everything that we're exposed to over the course of our life, right? There are points where we get scared. That's all here. That's all in our brain, right? That's all mental. You can find a way to push through that. Find that other 60%.
Even along the lines, I've been going to the gym and I've been bringing my daughter with. She's really been excited about spending that time together. And one of the things that I've tried to tap into lately, and I think you and I have talked about this, and I've heard it a few other spots. When you get to the end of your reps and you're like, I'm going to do 8 reps of this, do 1 more, maybe 2 more, because your body has it in you. Your head, exactly what you're talking about. Your head is going to tell you you can't, or that 8 is enough, or that you're done. There's always more in the tank. And if you tap into that and you pull out 1 more, you can get more potential out of yourself than what you believe you can in the first place. And I think that's a game changer.
Absolutely. Those 2-3 reps, 1, 2, 3 reps at the end, those are the reps that really have meaning. And they have meaning for many ways, right? They have meaning for what they're doing for the muscles that you're working, but they have more meaning for your mental capacity and that grit and that ability to continue to face those types of adversities, right? When the weight gets heavy, keep on pushing.
Every time that I do those extra reps, it not only builds up physical strength, which is great, but it's also what you just said, the mental strength that I'm getting out of that. Every time I repeat that, I'm teaching myself, you have more in you than what you think. Keep stretching yourself, keep trying, and there's more in the tank than what you believe there is sometimes. And that's been powerful. And it's coming with me into a lot of other areas of my life that beyond what's going on in the gym. So,
hey, shifting gears a little bit, but kind of on the same topic. It's been a rough couple of weeks mentally for me. I don't know if you're experiencing that. I certainly am. I just feel a little bit off, right? As much as I'm enjoying watching the events and the activities of the Olympics, I've got good stuff going on within the business and things at Octillion, but there's a part of me that just feels off, feels exhausted, feels off. Can't put my finger on it. I don't know how to explain it other than that. But all I know is that I have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I keep coming back to the discipline piece, right? For me, motivation is basically useless without discipline. Motivation has no place without discipline. And so I keep referring back to that statement and going, just rely upon that discipline, right? And rely upon those pennies, those mundane tasks every day to just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. It's not easy. It's hard. It's been a real struggle. Any advice on that topic?
You know,
Anything you've used when you face those situations?
I had a guy that I used to work with, and he was going through some stuff, and him and I were chatting one morning real early, and he said, Gamatis, I got to tell you, there's one thing that just drives me nuts. I'm like, what is that? And he said, it's the expectation that I'm always going to be happy. Because like right now, I'm not happy. And like I said, he was going through some stuff. And I'm like, all right, unpack that a little bit for me. And he said, you know what? I feel like I'm on this roller coaster. And sometimes I'm at the very bottom of the coaster, kind of down in that valley. And sometimes I'm at the very top. And it's this up and down and up and down. And everybody expects that I'm always going to be up at the top. And I can't stay there. It's impossible. And there's a lot of days where I'm not at the top and I'm not at the bottom. I'm just in the middle. I'm just on this flat part where I'm not super happy and I'm not all the way down in the valley, but I'm just coasting. And it was interesting because I'm a guy who's like, well, you should just be happy all the time. And there's a lot of reasons in life to have joy. And if you have gratitude, that solves everything. And I realized in that conversation that there's room in the middle to just be and to not be super stoked about everything you've got going on and super joyful and super happy, and not be down all the way at the bottom, but just be kind of in that middle space. And that's an okay space to be. So that's one thing that I learned a long time ago that I've kind of carried with me. And I think I put that pressure on people around me sometimes too, and maybe myself, to just be happy all the time and be positive. And life comes with a lot of those ups and downs. What you're talking about resonates with me because there's definitely been that last week where I've been kind of in that same spot. There's just a lot going on. It's been busy. There's a lot of pressure to get things done. There's pressure at work, pressure at home, a lot of juggling. And I was telling Christina the other night, it's hard because say you're the dude spinning plates and you've got a bunch of plates that you're spinning, right? The second you start to not see the plates you're spinning, one of them is going to fall. And you don't want any of the plates to fall. So you're trying to spin all the plates. And like you said, sometimes that's exhausting. Sometimes it's tiring. Sometimes you're like, I'm sick of the plates. But where you went with that to the discipline side, sometimes you got to just grind through. And then you take that and you share it with other people. And I think that's the key. There's the discipline side and there's the talking to other people side and having other people help you. Especially as dudes, we don't ask for help as much as we should. We don't talk about our challenges enough. We're supposed to just show up. We're supposed to be a man. There's this masculine thing we're supposed to have where we got it all figured out. And I have yet to meet a guy who has it all figured out. None of us do. And especially if you're trying to do big things like start a business, run a business, or make yourself better in an area of your life, all of those things come with challenges. To try and carry that all on your own is a huge mistake. It's easy to try, but it rarely successful. So
2 points to add to that. Surround yourself with good people that push you, people that want more for you, and people that actually want to see you succeed. Keep that circle tight and right. And I think there's a constant evaluation that happens with that. People come and go from our lives all the time for many different reasons. Being aware of those relationships and the ones that really truly are important to you and embracing them and giving that gratitude, being positive, right? Even when you're not feeling it, provide that for folks. That's your circle, right? And those, if you're exhibiting those types of things, chances are they're going to come back to you if your circle is right. On the second one, on the plate spinning, I lost the plate spinning analogy a long time ago. And there's a reason for that. Because they crash and they fall and they break. And once one goes, they all go. And I decided to look at it a little differently. and I look at it as juggling. And I'm juggling glass balls and I'm juggling rubber balls. I have to be aware of which ones are glass and which ones are rubber. Because you know what? I can drop those rubber ones at any given point. And I can drop them, they'll hit the ground, they'll bounce back up, I can pick them back up again. But I got to make sure I prioritize the glass ones because I don't want to drop those, because when they hit the ground, they shatter. So being able to prioritize those activities so that I'm not constantly spinning plates, just juggling the priorities. The rubber ones, they can go down the list. They'll bounce back when the time is right.
That's really good, man. Yeah, because you're on point with that. If everything is a glass ball, eventually you're going to drop something and it is going to shatter. So knowing that not everything is a glass ball is super important. And the reality of it is too, this comes back to when I started writing the Depth Not With blog. One of the reasons that I started writing that, it's like 3 years ago, was I realized that I was good at a lot of things, but I was trying to spin too many plates, and I was good at spinning many plates, but I wasn't great at spinning any of the plates. And what I realized was there were some specific plates that I really cared about more. So I like the glass ball, the juggling analogy, because that really captures it. I wanted to focus on those glass balls and not all the balls, because there were some glass balls that were really important to me that really deserved my attention and my focus. And I actually got rid of some balls. I said, all right, I'm juggling 10. I'm going to juggle 6. And these 4, I'm going to set down right now because I don't have to juggle everything. And the juggling analogy really lands with me.
Yeah, it's helped me immensely in just getting focused on priorities. What is important today? And what's important today might not be the same thing that's important tomorrow. Right? Those priorities change. Those glass balls and what they represent change. Found it also key for me in those situations to write those goals down, write those priorities down. So right? We talked about that last week or in the last episode. Having those goals visible so that we can focus on the right things, right? Is the activity that I'm doing today, is the juggling that I'm doing today getting me closer to achieving the goal?
I actually, along those lines, I have a reminder that pops up on my calendar every 2 hours. And I only have it pop up during the day. I could probably have it pop up in the evenings too. Maybe that would be smart, but it's just a question that pops up every couple of hours. And basically what it asks is, what's the highest leverage activity that I could be doing right now to get to my goals? And it's just a reminder. Every couple of hours it pops up, and I can look at it and I can look at what I'm doing, and I can just real quick ask myself, am I in the right lane right now or am I not? And sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm working on something. There's a fire that needs to get put out, or there's a project that just needs to get done, or there's something that it's not the highest leverage thing that's going to take me to my goals, but it's something I need to be working on in that moment. But what I found is those quick little reminders just trigger me to think a little bit more about getting back on track with the goals and understanding what my priorities are. Because it's so easy to get off track and have your goals and your priorities get hijacked by the busyness of the day.
Absolutely. Or as we've been talking about in competition, right? In the Olympic competition, get distracted. Doesn't take much. Take you off your game. I think about the women's synchronized diving, platform diving, and the U.S. team with I think 2 rounds left to go was like in 7th place. They focused on their discipline and continued to deliver. Did they deliver great results? Nope, but they only focused on them and what they could do. Other teams started to fall apart. The pressure started to get to them. They fell away from their discipline. And next thing you know, the U.S. team has propelled up into 2nd place. They ended up taking the silver. was pretty awesome to watch. And I don't think that they thought in their head that they could do it, but they just kept going out there and just delivering consistent results. And isn't that what we strive to do every day? Just deliver consistent results. It's that place in the middle, as you talked about earlier. Setting that goal high, knowing that the lows are going to be low, and finding that middle ground, which still is propelling you forward. And every day, those highs and lows change, and that middle ground gets higher and higher.
Absolutely. Well, you train yourself over time to expect a little bit more and a little bit more, and you get what you expect. Like if you can train yourself to expect a little bit higher level of showing up every day, you'll get there. There's no way around it. You mentioned when we were starting that you had a 12 ways to propel yourself forward that you had found. And you started talking about that, and it was hit on that just real quick. I think that's a good place to kind of start to land the plane here, but it was a good list.
And we touched upon some of these today, so far already in conversation, but first of all, smile at others and smile often, right? We say so much with our face. Do we have to be, does a smile mean you're happy? Most cases. I'm not saying fake a smile, right? There, no matter what's going on, there is a lot of positive around us, and embrace that positivity. Be kind, treat people how you would like to be treated. Don't give up. Not everything works out in the first try or even the second or third. Find another way, right? We talked a lot about that today. There's always a path. It's there. Find it. You might fall a few times in the way, along the way, but find that path that's there. We talked about this one too. Don't compare yourself to others. Your journey is different. Your journey is not theirs. Your journey is yours. Embrace that it's yours and make it yours. Avoid negativity at all costs. It's a killer. Don't give into it. It's so easy to get negative. I've faced it over the last week. I know based on our conversation, you have too, right? It's easy. That little opening, that little crack happens. It's so easy to let that negativity in. But the reality is just let the light shine in on those. Make peace with your past. It's just that. It's the past. It's gone. You can't worry about it. Focus on the future. Focus on where you're going in your next step, in the next hour, in the next 12, in the next 24, in the next week. Take care of both your body and mind. You need both in a good place in order to succeed. How true is that? That's the whole premise of our podcast. That's the whole premise of Grit Meets Growth. Be you. Don't be a fake. Be you. And if people don't like it, that's their problem, not yours. That's hard in today's day and age. That's hard in the era of social media and influencers and everything else. Talked about this a lot, right? Surround yourself with good people that push you, people that want more for you, and people that actually want to see you succeed. Have gratitude and appreciate everything in your life. There are always people out there that have it 10 times worse than you did. Be thankful. Somebody said to me the other day, what are you thankful for today? So that I woke up, that I get to see the beauty that life has to offer. Have that gratitude. And most importantly, just be humble. Being an arrogant prick doesn't get you anywhere. And I think embracing those 12 items, how can we go wrong in life?
Well, the one that sticks out for me is the gratitude part. I had somebody tell me a long time ago, I could go 100 yards in any direction and find 100 people who would be willing to trade spots with you for what you've got going on, for the opportunities you have, for where you could go if you put your mind to it. And that's always stuck with me, is we have a lot to be grateful for, especially in America. the opportunities we have, where we could go. We just need to show up and do the work. And so that's been our message from day one. Show up, do the work, mind and body, get those on track, and the rest falls into place.
Amen.
Right on, man. This is another good episode.
Love it. Can't wait for episode 7. Woo!
We'll see you in a few weeks. Hey, we hope you enjoyed today's episode of Grit Meets Growth. We have 2 asks for you as we wrap things up today. First of all, if you enjoyed this podcast or you got something out of it today, we'd love to have you subscribe and follow us so that you can get your ear in on more of these conversations. And the second thing we'd love to have you do is if you heard something today that you think could help somebody else or that they need to hear, we just ask you to share the podcast and let this message be magnetic to as many people as possible. So with that, have an awesome day. Make it happen. Get out there, do the work, and let's get after it.